Well, good morning. It's a lovely morning out here this morning. As you can see from the vehicles, there's a little frost on the pumpkins. Not too much, it's only -4. Anyways, I'm gonna run some table scraps out to the compost pile and see what the chickens do to them. Then we're gonna do rest of the morning chores, and then we're gonna head to Rio Grande, help mix up some grain for the father-in-law, and bring some hay bales back. So yesterday it was noted we had some crows and magpies coming and flying down into here and raiding this, which is not preferable at all. So I think I'm gonna do is actually cut this pallet about, somewhere down here and leave it open so the chickens can hop in, but then put one full pallet on the top. Boy, these girls are sure noisy this morning. But yeah, if I put a pallet on the top, I'm hoping that discourages any wild birds from coming in, especially the scavengers like ravens, magpies, crows, anything like that that are gonna come in, because subsequently they will pester the chickens, cause a bunch of additional stress that we just don't need. The other thing that is beautiful, because it's so nice outside, the chickens are kind of finally venturing out for the first time this year. They've spent a lot of the winter in the house because we've had I wouldn't say we've had such terrible weather. We've actually had fairly nice weather this winter by comparison to other winters, but when it was bad, it was really bad, right? So they spent a lot of time in there. So it's good to see them out and about, getting some sunshine, getting some fresh air. They're in digging in the hay bale even, so they're getting their greens. We've got one over here, fooling around with the sheep, which is exactly where we want them to be. Ultimately, we want the chickens to be over here during the spring because they're gonna work in all the sheep manure into the top layer of soil. And as things really warm up, that's when the fly larvae are gonna come. And the chickens are gonna work magic because they're gonna dig through all of that manure to find that fly larva. And that's where they're gonna go into overtime, working in all that organic material into this silty, sandy clay, which I don't even know how that soil composition works, but yeah, that's what we have, silty, sandy clay. And not lots likes to grow there. So that's why we've been, working with sheep back here and bale grazing and let them add their manure to the top layer of soil, so that hopefully all the water that comes off, not only the shop, but the fact that it is a hill, we can slow that water down so that all the topsoil doesn't end up down in the creek over there. So I'm talking about bale grazing. What I'm talking about here is where you lay grass on the bare soil, or hay, sorry, on the bare soil. And you see this lots with round bales. Folks will roll out an entire round bale and then they'll mob graze cattle on there because the cows will trample the grass seed, anything they don't eat in the grass seed, into the soil. Now sheep have such tiny hooves and they don't weigh a ton. They're not really good at trampling. They're very good at packing. So they contribute to soil compaction a little bit. And that's where the symbiotic relationship with chickens comes in, because chickens are natural tillers. So any compaction that the sheep creates, the chicken will then come behind and aerate. So the thing with bale grazing is, we assume that there's a large portion of seed in the hay, some of which will get dropped through the process of the sheep eating, and some of it will get dropped because they obviously do eat the seed and it makes it all the way through the rumen, and then they poop it out. And it doesn't get hot enough inside their rumen or inside their intestine to actually kill the seed, so they'll drop it down, and it becomes, when the chicken works it into the ground, will still be a viable seed. So I'm just in the chicken house now, and you recall from when I was just outside, it is fully daylight out. It's actually 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can see we've got the light on in the coop. The timer on this light is set to go off at 9:30, I think. Anyways, spring is coming, and the days are getting longer. I'm excited about this. So we're gonna adjust this timer to come down at 7:45, and then, give it 2 weeks, and we'll probably come down to 7 a.m. And then eventually we're gonna turn this light off completely, because we're gonna have enough light on both ends of the day that the chickens will get enough light that we don't need to add any more supplemental light. It's very exciting. Power company's not gonna like that, but I'm gonna like it. Now later today, I know we're gonna need the tractor to unload some hay bales, and I don't wanna have this conversation later about, I need to get the battery charger on because the thing is dead. So proactively, I'm gonna get the charger on here so I know this thing is gonna start. And then later, yeah, I got to switch over. I'm gonna take the grapple off, put the bale forks on. It's much quicker with the bale forks than it is with the grapple, just because there's 2 sets of hydraulics now you got to operate, as opposed to just going in with a bale spear and plucking your bale off. Anyways, I just wanted to, I guess at this point, say hi to a couple of our regular viewers. They reached out here over the last few days, and Kent and Martien from Tambaroora Station. So they watch all the time and they comment on lots of videos, and it's fantastic to have that kind of community within, you know, the homesteading and the YouTube world. And so I just wanted to say thank you very much for reaching out. They were actually asking about some hatching chicks and wondering if we had roosters in with our chickens. So we do have one rooster in with our approximately 75 birds. It's kind of chicken math. You kind of forget how many chickens you got, but we got right around 75. And so he's there more as a flock guardian, as opposed to, you know, from a fertility perspective. And so we say, well, yeah, we'd rather not sell any eggs, because, you know, we can't guarantee the fertility rate. But anyways, it was cool to hear from them. And so if you're watching, thank you very much. Really appreciate you reaching out. And I hope you're having a fantastic day on your homestead. So the next thing I'm working on, I'm just running a bucket of grain over to the sheep. Later today, once we get the hay picked up, we'll run them a bale into their pen. So this is more just a treat than anything, as opposed to like a dietary supplement. We just give them just enough grain to kind of keep them trained and friendly, so that when we want to trailer them or move them around to a different paddock or a different field, that hopefully they follow, as opposed to having to be herded. Our expertise in sheep herding are more, you know, it's a fun way to learn new swear words, because we don't have much luck with that, but we have had much more luck with getting them to follow a bucket. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing this morning? It's kind of interesting too, because, you know, we've been getting them to lick up this feed and then, you know, give them a little bit of grain treat every once in a while. But the other thing we've been doing is using this molasses tank. So we got this molasses tank from Bloom Enterprises, and we get molasses from him as well. And it holds about 2 pails. And so we filled it up. Well, heck, if you watch the videos, I want to say it's like 4 or 5 days ago, maybe. And they've got this thing down to about 1/3. So they're plowing through it. Now, we brought this in as more, this is a dietary supplement. We noticed last year some of the feed quality declined over the course of winter. So we thought it'd be really good to bring them, you know, some additional protein, some additional mineral supplement, and lots of energy in the way of molasses. So now they're plowing through it. We don't know if any of these ewes are pregnant. So we used 2 completely unproven rams this year. They were last year's ram lambs. One was from Juliet here, and then one was from Homemade Homegrown Homestead out in Elmworth. And so, I mean, we're fingers crossed that mid-April we're gonna have lambs everywhere, or at least starting to get lambs everywhere. For all I know, we could have 17 freeloaders right here that aren't gonna lamb at all. But judging by how much supplement they're plowing through, I'm hopeful that that is indicative of the fact that they need it, because they're growing some babies in there. So now this is my trick, right? I give them all grain, and then they all sit there with their back ends facing me, and I'm looking for signs of them bagging up. I'm looking for udder development, and there's a couple that look like they're, you know, they're starting to get a little bit bigger, and that's really indicative that yes, they are kind of getting into late trimester, and we'll just have to keep an eye on them, because yeah, there should be nothing before April 15th. So we're still a ways away yet, but they could be as late as the end of May. So yesterday I did come in here into the greenhouse, and I spray foamed, as you can see, around the windows and stuff. What I didn't do, when you get to the edge of the roof over here, there's a big gap right through there where the wind can come through. And we need to cut some 2x4s between the rafters just to seal that up, and same on this side. So we noticed, because we got a really predominant west-southwest wind, that the way the greenhouse is positioned, that the wind will just blow straight through and steal any heat that we've managed to get inside the greenhouse here. So I'm not going to say later today, but this weekend for sure we're going to come back with a saw and close up those holes and then we're gonna measure. At that point, we're gonna measure. We'll clean the windows too. That's probably the biggest downfall of the greenhouse, is the fact that the windows are dirty and no sunlight can really get in. But yeah, we'll close up the gaps, we'll clean the windows, and then we're gonna take the thermometer and we're gonna see just how hot we can get it on these, you know, days like this where it's -3, -4-ish. What is the power of passive solar? Well, we made it back from Rio Grande. While we were there, actually Carmen boxed up some chickens, and when we got home, she ran them over to a lady up the road here while we unloaded some bales, and the sheep are pretty happy because they got a new hay bale today. But myself, I don't know what I did. Sometime during the day, I buggered up my shoulder. I don't know, it hurts bad, and I think I'm gonna need some Tylenol or some Advil here this evening. I was planning on taking some anyways, because if you watched yesterday's video, you know we went and got the whole bed thing sorted out. And yeah, that bed is hard. I was expecting to have, you know, I was really hoping to have a good night's sleep last night. Unfortunately, that did not occur. I flipped and flopped and tossed and turned pretty much all night long. And Charlotte woke up at 6 o'clock this morning, and I was like, thank goodness I needed a reason to get out of bed, because yeah, I was pretty hurting. So I've been running on Advil for most of the day, and then now to bugger up my shoulder, it's not feeling good. So I'm gonna have to have a little something extra in my tea tonight. So I will let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.